I don't miss my old life, because honestly, I don't think I ever really had one, at least not in the way people usually mean when they say they had a life. I didn't have a life that I loved and then lost. What I had was a life where I was constantly trying to get somewhere else. Trying to escape certain circumstances, improve things, fix problems, or finally reach the next stage where everything would somehow become easier. My life was always supposed to begin later. It would begin after I was stable, after I had enough money, after I had enough security, after I had achieved enough that I could finally stop worrying and start thinking about what I actually wanted. I was always working towards a future version of my life, and that future never really arrived. When you don't feel safe, you don't spend much time thinking about what you want. Your attention goes to what needs to happen next. You solve the immediate problem, deal with the next obstacle, make another plan, and keep moving. That was most of my adult life. Money was never the thing I was chasing. What I wanted was what money represented: freedom and choices. To not feel trapped. When I was younger, I needed to get away from a situation that I knew I could not stay in. So I worked. I took whatever jobs were available because they were a step towards having my independence. But it wasn't enough. It was not giving me what I wanted, what I needed. I thought improving my education would give me a better chance of building the kind of life I wanted. So I went back to study and worked multiple jobs to pay for it, believing that a degree would open doors that had previously been closed to me. Every decision was a stepping stone towards some future point where I would finally feel secure enough to stop struggling. Everything was supposed to lead somewhere, but it was hard doing it all by myself. Then I met my ex-husband. At the time, I saw potential. I thought I had met someone who wanted to build something, someone entrepreneurial, someone who was also looking for a better life and a different future. A future that we can build together. I know I was making the best decisions I could with what I knew at the time. Knowing that doesn't make it any easier to forgive myself. I left my job so we could be together, and we moved to the UK because we believed it could be a fresh start. We both had skills. We both spoke English, and I thought that if we worked hard, we could finally create the stability I spent years trying to reach. The reality was very different. I couldn't get my paperwork sorted, which meant I couldn't get a job. Slowly, I began to realize that I had married the wrong person. By then, I was in a foreign country without income, without security, and without an easy way to simply walk away and start again. So I did what I had always done. I adapted, I endured, I found a way forward. I worked whatever jobs I could get, tried to move up, and tried to prove myself. No matter how much effort I put in, I couldn't seem to break through. Eventually, I divorced. I lived very simply and saved whatever I could. At one point, practically living in a squat because I was trying to save enough money for a deposit on a flat. With my income and the way property prices were moving, it felt completely out of reach. During that time, I had no real social life, no sense of belonging, and no feeling that I was actually building anything. I was still trying to move forward, although I had started to lose the feeling that I was getting anywhere. And then came the illness, the burnout, the collapse. Looking back, I think I spent most of my life trying to buy my way into a future where I would finally feel free, safe, and secure. The problem with chasing a future like that is that the finish line keeps moving. Of course it does. That is what life does. There's always another problem to solve, another goal to reach, another thing that needs fixing before you can finally allow yourself to relax. I used to think of myself as someone who climbed mountains. Granted, probably the wrong ones. Now I trip over breadcrumbs. I cannot go back to living that way. I cannot go back to life where everything is a transaction and every decision has to be justified by what it will achieve. I cannot go back to valuing other people's opinions about what is best for me more than my own. I cannot go back to following scripts that were never really mine. Most of all, I cannot go back to pretending that I care about things that don't matter to me, pretending that I have unlimited energy, pretending that somewhere in the future there will be a reward waiting for me if I just keep pushing long enough, pretending that I can do everything alone, pretending that I know exactly what I'm doing. This is the life I can't go back to. And even if I tried, I don't think my body would allow me to.